Good morning from Barcelona. Good afternoon in Oakland. Hello, everybody.
So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and be ready to talk to us from there and maybe certain point to join us here in New Zealand. And yes, it's a really great pleasure to have you here. And especially because you are such a representative of a particular say moment of architecture that is essentially the moment in which there's a reflection going on and there is a particular capacity to move into the space of architecture as a research. So I think that what you have been doing is particularly important and can inspire all of us, and particularly our practitioners and students here in New Zealand. I'm Alfredo Manfredini. I'm the Director of School Architecture and member of the Urban Design Hub, who is the organizer of this lecture series of this semester of the School of Architecture and Planning at the University of Auckland. This lecture series, as in the previous years, is made possible by our sponsor, GIB, who is the New Zealand only manufacturer of largest market gypsum plasterboards and drywall systems. The talk of tonight regards EMBT, Benedetta Tagliabue and Eric Miralles, architects, a practice established by Benedetta in 1994 in partnership with the late Eric Miralles. Together, they embarked on a creative journey that resulted in numerous iconic projects, like the new Scottish Parliament building in Edinburgh, the Utrecht City Town Hall in the Netherlands, the headquarters of Gas Natural Fenosa, and the rehabilitation of the market neighborhood in Santa Catarina in Barcelona. They also designed their own residence in the old city of Barcelona, which we might have the chance to have a glimpse into it today, thanks to the fact that Benedetta is located there and might show us around. Following the untimely passing of Eric in the year 2000, Benedetta has taken the helm of their practice as sole partner, leading EMBT from its headquarters in Barcelona. She has expanded its capacity by establishing offices in various parts of the world, including Paris and Shanghai. The portfolio of the office is known for its diversity and includes large-scale educational complexes like the School of Management of Fudan University in Shanghai. And they have also lent their expertise to the creation of central urban public spaces, which is one of the things that Benedetta will touch upon today, like the Hafen City in Hamburg. And they have left their mark on transportation infrastructure through the design of several metro stations, particularly two in Paris and Naples, currently under construction. While contributing to the material improvement of our cities, Benedetta shares her knowledge and experience through teaching and engagements in renowned institutions such as Harvard University, Columbia University, and ETSA, UPC in Barcelona, and hopefully at a certain point also in Auckland. Her lectures are at prestigious architecture forums and universities can reach audiences worldwide, and she's honored to serve as a juror of esteemed international awards, including the prestigious Pritzker Prize. In recognition of her exceptional contribution, Benedetta received an honorary doctorate, congratulations, from the Faculty of Arts for Social Sciences at Edinburgh, Napier University in 2004. Although the characteristic of that office and the practice is very articulated and diverse and very difficult to summarize, I don't know how to introduce it. I would just probably highlight one of the things that strikes me in their work. And this is something that probably I would summarize as a tension between, well, retention and protension, I would say. So embedded ideas, values, practices, and materialities. So their architectures are experiments of activation of form of constant presence. So essentially memories, ideas, narratives, and inventions. So bringing together, if you want, the past and the future in the instant, in the particular moment of creativity. And that's something that, of course, is very challenging because it opens up to indeterminacy, opens up to uncertainty and anxiety in the project. But that's what makes this project particularly relevant. And that's something that is mixed between being very rigorous and precise, and you can see in many of the details of the work that we see today, but at the same time this creative, investigative dimension, experimental dimension that looks at culture, expression, techniques, and as I said, there is a form of intensification of that particular instance, that particular moment that is transmitted to the works, to the experience of the users that usually are engaged into the production of the space after it is completed. Such intensification equally pervades the work of historical monuments and landscape and new buildings or objects, such as the ones that Benedetta will discuss today, including the extraordinary home where she's located now, the beautiful market in Santa Catarina, the Spanish pavilion at the World Expo in Shanghai, and other things that she will surprise showing us. So Benedetta, without further ado, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can you listen to me, because I just changed to the headphones. So I know it's difficult to communicate from a distance, and I know it's kind of important to let only something pass by. And I'm at home. This is 8 in the morning in Barcelona. And I know it's the afternoon in Oakland, so we already have a great time distance between us. And I think it's very nice to make you here with me as much as possible, because the communication could be a little cold, but the fact that we are communicating is really the desire to have you as much as possible involved in the world we have here. So I think
just a second, sorry for interrupting you. What I forgot to say in the introduction is that we have a question and answer time at the end of this presentation. So please put your question into the box of the questions, please. Sorry for that.
Perfect.
Upon this thing, yeah.
So we are at home in my home. I have Sarah next to me, who helped me in preparing this lecture of today. But I thought it would be nice to introduce you to my home, because I think the concept of home is very important. And a long time ago, with Rick Miralles in the 90s, when I came here in Barcelona, we were looking for a space to stay, and we found a very destroyed space. And here we are with this space now. But when we found it, it was a storage. So I think it's kind of nice to go around and to start from looking a little bit at the home. I don't know what you see, but this is the home. Sarah wished to show you a little bit. and the space was an abandoned space, because it was used as a kind of a storage. And we said, this is fantastic, because in the center of Barcelona, we can have a sort of loft. And we started to imagine this old space used as a loft, let's say reused. But then the loft became more full of remains. And we started to work with the beams and with what was existing, and with the walls, for example. And we realized how many people had been living in this house before us. So, for example, I don't know if the internet will work until here, but underneath some wallpaper, we found all these drawings, which were incredible, because it was really like, like Pompeii. Something was coming out. It's not totally precious. It's something which has the beauty of the past, and also to tell us that some other people were here before us. And also in the walls, we found these arches. This is Gothic. This is really something which is from more than 800 years ago. So I don't know. I mean, 800 years in human civilization in Europe is kind of not so ancient, but it's kind of fantastic to find it very, very clearly as it is here. For example, on the wall, we found this angel. No, it's very much inside the wall, but it's an angel, which maybe you can see here. I don't know if you can see. It's a little sculpture inside the wall, and it's really a kind of a remain which is connecting all the house with the old city, with the inhabitants, with the history, which is really in layers here. So we can also give a little look to the rest of the house, a glimpse, not so much, because also I have a guest sleeping here, but and also the internet maybe doesn't work so well. But I think this is kind of important to give a little look to the house before starting the slides, because here we learned about something which is really important to us, which is this idea of reuse, or kind of accepting reality, accepting what you find. Eric Miralles, my late husband and partner, he was saying it's like an old dress, and we put it outside down, outside up, and it's becoming ours. It's becoming ours, but it has things that already had there. I think this year, for example, in the Biennale, which was opened only a few days ago, this idea of margins, this idea of the places where architecture is not really thought are very important, and reuse is one of them. Oh, this kind of saying, okay, we live inside a place where other people had been living, where other hands had been working, and we accept it. And this is our action into architecture. This is important, and we have learned it here very much. So I show you only a little bit more, hoping that the internet still functions. Here we have the libraries. The library is like a labyrinth with this construction of a library. Enrique was very, very proud about, because it's the most essential bookshelves that you can ever see. It's only tubes. A lot of people have copied it, but it's so simple that it's nearly impossible to copy. And then some secret passages, and also we have, let's see if internet works. We have a kind of modernistic room, which is the only room which from the destruction of the storage, you know, this was used as a storage. So this modernistic room.
We are really sorry. Probably Benedetta moved in a part of the house where there's no connection, no connectivity, or poor connectivity. She will be back soon. Benedetta, you're back. Sorry, we missed you for a while. You're muted.
Okay, so I'm back. That's it. This means the tour of the house is finished. Now we go to the slides. So what I wanted to say is that that this house is the beginning for our thinking about reuse, or living together with other generations. Also, I think I studied in Venice, which was very important for this idea of studying new generation, old generations, and live together with the old generations. So I think now we can go to the slides which are explaining a little more about other projects which came after this discovery of the house. We have a problem with connecting now, because maybe we had this connection. No, that's it. So I show you our very last small project. I think we are a studio, an architectural studio in Barcelona, and we do different type of projects, big ones and small ones. And I think the small ones are very useful. You know, this, for example, is only a pavilion for the fair in Milan. And this pavilion is kind of very fast built. They told us in January, and it was finished in April. And this is a very kind of very good sport, I think, no, for an architect. We design cities in China. We design big projects which involve the city, the neighborhood. But we love to do also these small things because it's the same concept. And I think it's really important to be able to have a kind of a possibility of moving the different scales. This is a kind of a tradition in Spain and Italy. In Italy, in the 50s, the architects were saying, we designed from the city to the spoon. So in a way, I like this very much. I think it's something very entertaining. It's very beautiful to have a studio which is able to design a city and have the involvement in what you need in the city, but then also small things, like, for example, this pavilion, which is, of course, it's in the fair. It has to give a concept. And the concepts are very near to what you conceive for a city, for example. And in this case, it was about what is the Mediterranean tradition of construction, where you find the sustainability, being together with nature and being able to introduce nature into architecture, sustainable material like wood, other very cultural and sustainable materials like ceramic, and also explaining things into a kind of like a little joke, let's say, no, explaining with happiness. This ceramics are writing things, and what is writing, you can read a little bit here, is writing feel as if at home, which was written in Italian, sentirsi a casa. And you read here in the benches where people can sit and can rest from the visit of the fair, you can read this word, casa. And I think this is now very central in our architecture. We try all the time to make architecture which makes you feel at home. And this is not a little thing. This is very much. And I think now in architecture, we are at the point where we have to rediscover a lot of things of our profession. And I think this rediscovery goes through the discovery of small things. And these small things which maybe before were kind of invisible. And one of the small things is the feeling of being at home in a place. So in a way, it's a fantastic thing to think, I can design this project which makes people feel as if they are at home. And I think this is the greatest idea we have in mind in this moment. What you are looking at now is our studio and the foundation Enrique Miralles. As you know, Enrique Miralles was a wonderful architect, was very special. I think he was a genius. That's why I married him. But he was also a little crazy. And that's why I also married him, because he was crazy. And unluckily, he died very young. He was 45 only. So at the end, we decided to create this foundation, which is showing his work, our work, that we are upstairs in the office, but also the work of other people who are very young and have a desire of making new experiments in architecture, new ways. And this is really what we would like to the foundation to be about. I am now showing you what is above the foundation, which is our office. And our office is also a kind of a reuse in an old place in Barcelona. So we are putting in this old place in Barcelona in something that we created, these pieces that we've done during our career recently, dealing mainly with wood. Wood is something that we like very much because it's a material which is really alive, it's really sustainable. So we are investigating more and more on how to introduce wood in whatever we do. And the main material, as you can see in this video, is people, is life, no, is the ideas of everybody, this kind of confusion, but also richness, which comes from the many minds, many hands who are proposing, who are doing, and who are collaborating in whatever result we have in the office. So the handwork is very central, because we believe that in architecture you can express mainly by doing things. So let's go a little on. This is an image of Rick Miralles when we won the Scottish Parliament. I thought it was nice to introduce him. We introduced his foundation, and many of the ideas that we are working with now are with his spirit. The house you have seen before, it's not very changed from time ago. And this is a little introduction.
In spite of everybody, I was very attracted by these houses, which look so deteriorated from the outside, but with all these fantastic big spaces in the inside.
I don't know if you can listen to the music.
I found a home where old memories are preserved and beautiful new stories are created.
This is a publicity. We have done this video. You can find it on Apple TV, and it's in the series Homes. So they proposed me to talk about this house. My children, one of them said, "This is terrible. You're selling yourself to the commerce." And the other child, the girl, she said, "Okay, you can do it. I will be next to you. I don't like it very much, but I never will look at it, but I do it." And this document is there, so you can look at it if you want. And these are images of the house that you have just seen, and when was inhabited by Rick Miralles and myself. And the house is a kind of a good way to start. First of all, to say how important it is to make architecture which makes you feel like home, and also to show a project which was really next to our home, which is Market Santa Caterina. This was, I mean, from my home to this market is kind of 2 minutes walking, and this was our market. It was a very old market. Rick showed it to me, and he was saying, "This is the place where I was coming to buy with my grandma." I have very great reminds of it, and it was a very important piece. Then one day we heard that they wanted to destroy it, and this was really terrible. We started to protest. Rick wrote letters to politicians, and the politicians said, "Well, you know, if you have better ideas, why don't you give the ideas?" And we started like this. This was very nice. Barcelona, which was still very like a little town, no? which was very helpful in a way. And so we started this conversation with the politicians, and we ended up designing the market, Santa Caterina, and also designing the neighborhood inside. And we always say that we did that because we are very egoistic. We wanted a better neighborhood. We wanted a better market. We wanted a better place to stay. So also this is like making your neighborhood more home. And in this case, we have another video, and the voice here, when it will appear, is very well known. I will tell you only at the end who is the man talking, but maybe you will guess.
Like half the kids his age, Alba doesn't have a steady job. Life is just that, rambling along aimlessly. Santa Caterina is a market with a hidden treasure outside.
Benedetta, we have a problem. We can only hear some fragments of the sound.
Sorry. So it was not possible for you to listen to the voice of
Just
the
bits and
man.
pieces. Just bits and pieces, unfortunately.
It's a pity because I wanted to make a competition who won, who could guess the voice, but the voice was, I tell you, by Woody Allen. That's why I'm very proud that someone decided to make a video with the voice of Woody Allen to explain the market in this very strange way. But I think it's nice, no? You make some architecture and then people can take them and interpret them. And this is also part of making it like a common knowledge and home for everybody. So the situation on the Santa Caterina market was a very difficult place, let's say, very condensed, very narrow streets. Here we have the photographs of the sky around the neighborhood. And when we started to work on the market, the idea was to open also the neighborhood and to make the market become more visible, more part of the welcoming towards this neighborhood. So we worked a lot with models. We worked also with politicians explaining a lot of what was happening. And one of the strategies of saying, we want this market to be more visible, to be the welcoming part, was to make visible for the people, for the city, what was happening inside. And what was happening inside was beautiful, really. Going inside the market is mixing with the food, with the perfumes, with the capacities of the people to create different recipes, and with the survival of families. So I think there is so much around food, and food in cities is now becoming a kind of a subject. And I think it is so important. Now it's really becoming very clear that the chain of food is one of the many of the main mechanisms which make the city go on. And we discovered this through the Santa Caterina market. And it was a very beautiful discovery. So the Santa Caterina market at the time was a very gray place. This is a photograph of the moment when we started the competition. It was beautiful inside. You had all these colors and all this life, but outside was really a kind of a gray, deteriorated place. So when we started the work, we had to conserve and to respect some of the parts that we thought it was very noble, like these walls. And also we make the excavation and we found a lot of archaeology, because this place was a monastery before. So there was a lot of ruins of churches. But then on the top, we had this roof positioned, which was kind of explaining the beauty of the inside. It was kind of welcoming towards a new doorway, towards the neighborhood of Santa Caterina, and air and light was entering again into the city, which was closed until that moment. So this was, let's say, the way of introducing life into the neighborhood. And this covering with ceramic, with colored ceramic, the roof of Santa Caterina, was really a way to make the city be more active in this place, to give back the life which was not there until the moment. So this was really a kind of a beautiful way to start in action in our city. But meanwhile, we had other projects going on, and we were, for example, designing the headquarters for a big company, which was going back to the place of origin, the gas company. And we wanted this headquarters not to be an imposing headquarters, but to also have this kind of home feeling, so that even if it's a glass building, it's a kind of a broken glass building, like a fire. No, this is the gas company, and we thought gas is a kind of a flame, and a flame is bringing this idea of changing continuously. So this is a building which is kind of a fragmented volume. So whenever you look at it, it changes. It's very different. Meanwhile, we were also designing a park, and it's a big park in a place which was an industrial park in Barcelona. And now this industrial park was transforming into a place with a lot of water, connected with the seaside and with the city, so that it's a first real connection between the city of Barcelona and the sea. And this is going through a series of piazzas which have water, which have a pavimentation, and which are kind of buffers between the city and the nature which is happening on the seaside. So this was a transformation which was a very strong urban transformation. The people were surprised, to the people who used to live here in a very difficult neighborhood called La Mina, which is a kind of the old Bronx of New York. This was comparable to La Mina. And they were very happy to be able to use these new facilities, which were giving back this kind of relaxed way of life, a playful way of life, which I think is the first movement towards having a healthy society. You know? Because if you find a way to move easily, this is a beautiful way to have a healthy society. So after all these experiences, we were called also by cities far away. We could win in Hamburg. Maybe you recognize this Elbe Philharmonie by Herzog et de Meuron. But the people who designed all the landscape is actually our studio. And this was a very, very long work that we started, I think, in 2001. It was the first competition that we won after Enrique's departure, Enrique Miralles' departure. And it is a kind of a public space work, transforming what was the harbor of Hamburg, which was, I mean, it's one of the biggest in Europe, into a place for people. So it was a big work, because it was really about inventing places which can attract people, which can, again, make people feel at home. And this was at the beginning something that people in Germany were denying. You're saying, oh, well, you come from Barcelona and you think that here we have a beautiful weather like Barcelona, but this is very tough weather. You will not attract people. So these images are images with a lot of people in the public spaces that we have designed. And this is really like, to me, like being very proud. You know, I'm very proud that we could have this result of making the people feel at home here so much that they come to relax with families and friends, and this is a kind of let's say transformation of the harbor, and not only making it from boats to people, but also making it from a very tough German place to a kind of a more Mediterranean public space. So I don't know if they would accept that in Hamburg, but I think more or less is also something that they desired very much, to have a little more of a Mediterranean in their own lands. And here in Italy, because you do something and then people call you because they say, oh, wow, you did very well there. Please come and do something here. And this is a place in Italy called Rimini. Rimini is an historical city. Roman and Leon Battista Alberti was working here, and fantastic. And Federico Fellini was born in Rimini. So a fantastic place, but it is also the worst seaside place of the world. Let's say it's a massive, massive beach with thousands of people, and it's so massive that now the city wants to make it more natural. So they called us and say, please make this street between the city and the seaside becoming a more natural place. So here we transformed, let's say, this very, very tough limit between the seaside, which at the end is a natural place, and the city, into a renaturalized park. So now, where there was a very tough street of loading and unloading, they have a park with a lot of nature, with dunes, trying to make a feeling that it's not a massive seaside place. As you can see, you know, these are, each one of them is an umbrella for it's a shadow for the sun, and there is thousands of people. And then between the hotels, which are also very massive, and this massive seaside place, there is now this park, which is recreating a sort of nature and naturality. And this also, as many urban projects, is a project which is very much a long time. You have to be very patient if you want to be an architect, an urban planner, because you see results, but with very long time. Santa Caterina is still under construction, the neighborhood, which I didn't show, but it's a big change. And this started in 95. And Hafen City started in 2001, and we're still working on it. And this started in 2018. And so it's quite fast. And we started the first part of renaturalization of one of the 8 kilometers that we have to renaturalize. But I think it's spectacular. Let's say, maybe I don't have images of the street before, but the change from what was the very hard limit, and now this new natural buffer is really incredible. And here on this buffer, you have space for bicycles, for people walking, for people crossing and going from the hotel to the beach, to the restaurants. Sports, of course, is absolutely important, and you're really in a kind of a natural environment. So this is one of the last projects, Rimini, and we of course have also the design of each detail, because it's 8 kilometers. You have to give identity. So each one of the different phases have different colors, have tiles in different designs, has thematics, has a slight you see this, this is the thematic of the sea, but also there are other themes like Fellini, for example, or like the Roman time. So you can have these little details explaining you where you are, and the colors also giving you the difference from one place to the other, and this possibility of sitting and being more relaxed. So let's go on. We have also some beautiful projects in Utrecht, in the Scottish Parliament, of course, but it's so long, we cannot talk about everything. I usually put this photograph of the opening of the Scottish Parliament because I know Sean Connery was in the public. So this was great emotion to me. And the Queen, of course, the old Queen that now is historic, you know. And now we go traveling, because this is also our life. It's a studio which started at home, let's say, but started little by little to bring this concept of home in other places in the world. And the place which I think it was kind of impossible to me, but it was really very, very attractive, because I was there when I was 18, long time ago. It was China. I did a competition in China, in Shanghai, in 2007, because I had this idea that I loved China and I wanted to go back. And this was the competition for the Spain pavilion in Expo Shanghai. And we proposed them to make a pavilion made of wicker, handmade. And they thought we were crazy, but they said, okay, well, let's try. And at the end, we could arrive to have this pavilion covered with more than 8,000 wicker panels, which were conceived in Spain, because Spain has a very strong tradition of the wicker craft, but it was then built in China, because the language of the craft of wicker is exactly the same everywhere in the world. So in a way, I also understood that craft and the handwork is the same everywhere in the world. So humanity is united by handwork. And this, we thought it's fantastic. No, it's really a way to make humanity communicate. We were afraid, you know, we were in 2009, 2010, when we were preparing this pavilion, the relationship between China and Spain were not so strong. And we didn't even know if we would be able to let them understand how to build it. But then we realized that the work of hands, it was exactly the same here in Spain and there. And this is a very beautiful other way of being always at home, proposing something which is handmade, proposing the world of a craft as a kind of a common language for humanity. And it was surprising. I was very afraid. Never in my life I had been designing something like that, with the involvement of people crafting each one of these wicker panels and a building in wicker. So I was really afraid. The risk was very high, but at the end it had an incredible effect. Everybody kind of loved it. And this was surprising to me. And this was the invitation for us to enter other competitions in China. And for example, we were invited to design a university. Now I show you very quickly the images of that we created for this university. It was 3 urban block in a new part of Shanghai. And we were proposing at the very beginning to have a lot of public space between these 3 urban blocks. And the public space going underneath, going inside. So the three urban blocks were kind of dividing themselves, creating spaces for everybody at different levels. And this project was accepted. We won the competition unexpectedly. And now this is under construction. It was under construction during COVID, so we had to look at photographs. But when you see here, this is 3 urban blocks connected at a higher level, but also connected at street level, so that the street is really taking advantage of this new construction of a new university, and also the people using the universities are taking advantage of new public spaces on top of the streets, on top of the plazas, so that this is a university where you can find space to meet, public spaces on inside and outside, in private levels, in public levels, so that the connections is becoming the main part of the program. So now we are looking at this design being built in China, because we are like far away. We have been forced to be far away, and we are really looking forward to see life entering in this new university, and maybe becoming something special. So I think we have many images here. We are now designing also in Shanghai a new piazza, which will be ready soon. And this is also a piazza which is kind of introducing more nature into the center of Shanghai. No, we were introducing this idea of the sea, of the movement of water, which is not so far away from the center of Shanghai, but which is very, very invisible. And we were introducing also more nature. It's a place which will be used for a lot of shows, but it's inside of a new artificial nature, which is really embedding this new construction in the center of Shanghai. So in a way, also like feeling at home for us is introducing nature, where everybody, all the humanity, feels more comforted by, and making new centric places becoming renaturalized, becoming more near to nature. So I don't know if I can, this is under construction, which we still received. We have worked a lot on the tiles, of course, and you can see that it's very special, this pavimentation, which is really recreating the movement of the sea, the colors of the sea, the colors of the sky into a flat pavimentation. So I think now we can maybe go faster, and I would bring you to newer projects. How much time do you think we have, Manfredo?
Oh, you just go ahead. You just go ahead whenever. So in theory, we were supposed to last for the talk was supposed to last for an hour, but we'll be a delight to see a bit more of your work.
No, not very much more. I think I would show you very quickly. We are doing a fantastic station in a place which in France, near Paris, which was a ghetto. So I show you these images of 2005, when this place was burned, destroyed, people hated it, and people were destroying their own homes, their own cars, and artists like GR was reacting to this, saying, of course, this is a place where people don't have a face, nobody's looking at them. So he was making gigantic photos of these anonymous people, and he was putting them gigantic in the cities of Paris or in the destroyed buildings in the place. So here we are designing a station and a station which would like to look a little like this market, colorful, full of different voices, full of very ethnical work, and the station will be like that. So we are involved in this project, which is a project of creating a station which, again, would like to make people feel as if they are at home, with colorful place, light around, and a kind of happy feeling that is provoked by this new public building. Also, very fast, we are going to design a new station in Naples, in a place which is very tough. You know, it's also, we are specialized in difficult places, and it's very nice, you know, to think that we can do something which will make the place be more loving, be more friendly, be more home. And here in this downtown, very tough downtown, which also never was accepted by people, we are doing this new subway station, which is very much talking about nature, bringing the wood inside the glass and iron city, and make the inside of the station like a covered plaza, which is like a forest in a way. It will be very soon looking like a very natural forest. So there is this contrast between the city, very tough, and the new building, which will be more lovable, more natural, a wooden building. And also, I think it's very nice to have this look at the cities. No, whenever you go around, you see the culture. And here we have this beautiful culture of Pompeii's and this Hellenistic Roman statues, which are beautiful. And beauty is also still something which is connecting humanity, not only geographically, but also historically. We look at these statues of more than 2,000 years ago, and they are alive. So I think this is also kind of an incredible lesson for us. So to finish, I think I would like to maybe we can talk about a project which is, well, we have a beautiful station, a beautiful church, but I think I showed you the church only like an inside. It's also about reusing pieces, about a lot of wood, but much more, you know, the insertion of art. And this is more than feeling at home, let's say. You know, it's making a space which make you feel connected with something even bigger, you know, something which you can call God, the saints, your relationship with the more mystical part of yourself. So I think this was more than designing a home. No, it was very, very important, and it was a very special project. But we leave the church, and maybe we go to the last project I would like to talk to you about. And this project, we start historically. No, we start historically. It's in Barcelona, so it's easy for you to remember. But Barcelona is the place where we live, and that in the distance is Sagrada Familia. This was 1910, so more than 100 years ago. This was countryside, and in this countryside, they decided to build a very special hospital, which is a crazy hospital. It doesn't look like a hospital; it looks like a castle. It's so beautiful. But this man here, he was very rich, you know, he was called Pau Gil, and nobody remembers him now, but we remember him because of this hospital that he financed. But he didn't only finance the hospital. He also said, I want this hospital to be the most beautiful place because this hospital is dedicated to poor people. And I would like the poor people to enter here and to forget about their illness and to think this is like heaven. I feel here more than at home. So this is, again, this simple concept of feeling at home. And there is a lady, which you see here. Her name was Maggie Keswick. And here is her husband, who was Charles Jenks. And Maggie decided while she was suffering cancer that hospitals were not places where you can feel at home. They were places where you feel anonymous, where you feel nobody, where you lose your identity. And so she started to have a fantastic, simple idea to make places near hospitals where you can feel at home. And she had many friends like that you might know, Frank Gehry, Zaha Hadid, OMA, Pagan Park, and Rogers. And they all accepted to give as a present a project for this new homes next to hospitals. This is Foster, who is also introducing the possibility to cultivate the meadow while you're there. So this is a fantastic, simple idea. Hospitals are in fact inhospitable places, are in fact places where you don't feel at home. So let's make a little home next to the hospital where people who suffer cancer can go and can feel simply at home. They can also cry there, they can have yoga lessons, or they can have therapies. But the main idea is that they feel at home and they can make a cup of tea. So we were designing in this hospital, Sant Pau Hospital by Domènech i Montaner in Barcelona, a new center like this one. Of course, the modernistic architecture was our inspiration, and it's about making flowers, you know, the Gaudi, Domènech i Montaner, they were simply trying to make a flower architecture, you know, because nature is something that is really connecting us. So they were giving this, and we were trying to do the same in this little place here. You see, this is the old hospital, this is the new one, and this is the little center which we are designing, we designed here. And it's, of course, a little house, a little home, and its garden. And this is kind of making you forget about the hospital, which is here, and open towards the garden and towards the modernistic center, which is still a very beautiful scenery and not inhospitable garden. So we go quite fast. This is under construction, and these are pieces of the how we reacted to the modernistic construction. We were very simple, only one color, but we were trying to introduce this lightness that it's very typical of the modernistic architecture and the connection with the garden. So from the hospital, you have this attractive little house, which has an open door. You enter from the door and you enter in a new world with a garden, with a pergola, which covers you, where your illness is no longer a real, not individual problem, is you can be yourself and you can talk about it with someone else who is maybe there. Find your place inside the little house, which is dedicated to make you feel at home, and open the doors towards the garden, relax on the furniture, or do nothing at all. And this is the function of this place, to really make you feel at home. So now the garden is totally fantastic, and we are going every year. Tonight I'm going there to celebrate and try to have more fundraising so that many more of these places can be built around here in Catalonia and Spain. So thank you very much. I think I talked too much, but thank you very much to listen. And I'm open to questions if you want.
Well, thank you very much to you, and I'm delighted by all the presentation in detail of what we have done in relatively short period of time. Something that probably is interesting to see is exactly that particular relation between the scales. So what we see in all your projects is a very incredible continuity that the design, in a way, covers between so the molecular dimension of the tectonic of in the case of the waving for Shanghai or for other works. I'm thinking, for instance, that project. I think 4 years back in Venice, which was this sort of what is really feeling at home. And that's a really feeling at home, because after you walk for an entire day, then you find a place where you can lay on soft materials, enjoying the view of colors. Is really,
yeah. I always get very tired when I go to these big events. So I try when I can make an intervention to give benches, to give cushions, to give places for people to rest.
Exactly. And as I say, it's interesting because at the same time, it's not just a question of scale in terms of, from the molecular to the molar, so to say, but also in terms of time. And this is particularly interested in capturing at the same time short events to test particular ideas or particular techniques, like, for instance, the Biennale or also the Expo. But at the same time, onto long-standing projects that the one you said, for instance, or the public spaces in Rimini or other places that require much longer processes and much more interest in engaging with different, transition stakeholders, policies, and of course, difficulties that arise when projects are done. So that's a very interesting aspect, because when you talk about the question of establishing relation and relationality, so to understand how things are particularly capable of being captured in embedded systems as opposed to be transplanted, and understanding how this operation can happen, like in the case of Shanghai, by intercepting possible continuity between differences of whatever it is, languages, differences of expression, differences of paradigms that create these things, but at the same time, similarities that, as you were saying before, allow us to really establish immediate connectivity, immediate relation, immediate relationality with all elements, with particular elements that become essential to a project. So that's something that I would like to hear more. Unfortunately, it's getting late now, but that also has to do with your interest for the smaller scale. For instance, you were talking about wood, and of course, New Zealand is one of the most important exporters of wood since probably the colonial time. And I think that logs are probably the third item for export in New Zealand after dairy products like milk and probably meat. So we are very interested in that particular aspect of how, not only because of a question of sustainability, but also a question of understanding some specificities and capabilities that are associated to materials and to particular practices of embedding them in regulation and in materialities that are at the basis of the industry, in this case of construction, and how you're able. There would be another area of discussion, but maybe for a follow-up of this presentation on the smaller scale of the details. So I know that you engaged a lot with wood also in the design of objects like chairs, tables, objects in themselves. and in some cases, unique pieces like the church.
Yeah.
So is there anything you would like to tell us about this small scale of your, I can say, engagement with materials?
I think I always say that, I said in this lecture, that the small scale is very useful when you do projects of long term, which are very kind of, you get bored, to energize, no, and also to experiment and to have this kind of tests, as you were saying. So, for example, we like to do small things or exhibitions or pavilions many times. And I think through that, we are learning a lot. For example, this learning with the idea of wood as a very sustainable material. We probably learned through small pavilions that we were doing. And now we are applying more and more in our big buildings, like, for example, the station in Naples or the Santa Caterina Market, and most of the new architecture that we are doing. So I think it's really very, very nice to have this double scale in the office. And now we are also kind of proposing some pieces of furniture, some lamps, some little things, because I think it's really kind of a complementary. And it's true, no, that when you have this desire to design a better environment at big scale, you also have the same desire for the small one. So I think it's nice and natural to accept that. And if you want, if you say that wood is such a fantastic product of New Zealand, you know, we were participating to competitions called Hello Wood, where you create a wood pavilion, and we are now inventing with the wood university, the wood section in the university, other activities. We could invent something, which would be fantastic.
Spectacular. Thanks a lot. I think we have covered also the questions that we have in the chat. And one of them is about, again, home, from a student that refers to the question of the home in the public space. It would be interesting to explore as well. I'm thinking, for instance, of the question of the home and the market, and again, the Biennale, the last Biennale, in which the design of a home, design of, I think, if I don't get, I'm not mistaken, was a social housing, the building for social housing. It enters in the space of the street, bringing that porosity into the public space. So, and yeah, I think that we covered that. So I think that for now, I guess we have also, we went also over time, and we can leave it there. And thanks a lot,
Actually,
Benedetta. Thank you very much. I
Manfredo?
hope we will be able to see you soon. Oh, say again?
Yeah, sorry, we've got 2 questions. Can you have a look at the Q&A?
Yeah, but I was saying that we covered the question in the discussion.
Okay.
I guess that unless there's meaning there's a last question, which is about home and the design process. That could be one that possibly before leaving, if you have 5 minutes, we might want to address. The colleague of ours here at the university, very much interested in professional practice and design process, and how this design process is developed through from conception to delivery.
Well, I think the design process, you've seen a little bit of the studio, and it's very important, I think, to see the studio, because it's a studio full of young people, and I feel like a mommy in a way to everybody. In a way, I think I am the same age of the people I see around me, so this is a big help. But but it's very lovely to have this process of inventing or doing new projects, always through many different aspects, no, through maybe models that we are doing, and maybe we choose some ways of doing which were not thought at the beginning. So this hand production by different people is very useful to arrive to have new ideas, no? To have something that you didn't have in mind before. And then we are trying our best to develop these first ideas in a way where you don't lose the idea. And this is something that I learned next to Eric Miralles. He was always saying that a project is alive. So you don't have to let him die. And you let the project die if you don't feed it. And the feeding is looking after, you know? So you never have to let it abandon and say, okay, this is just developing. If you do that, then very possible your project or the main ideas of your project will die. So you have to think that you have to feed it all the time. And this is what we are trying. It's very challenging because, for example, when you are doing something for China, as I was showing you, of course, it's this project of feeding was going, let's say, from one hands to another one, and we couldn't be on top. No, COVID also made a big separation, and this is okay. This is another way of considering that we have to develop architecture, maybe with other means. But when we can choose, we do exactly as in the last project I showed you, which was in Barcelona, this Calida project from the Magis centers. And this was really from the beginning to the end, we were there constantly. So you can choose everything, all the details, the furniture, the colors of what goes between the bricks and so on. And this is very important, respect to the process and to the result you would like to have. I don't know if I answered.
I think so. Fantastic. So thanks again, Benedetta. Thanks for your time. And I hope we will have the chance in the future to work together again, or to have you here, maybe in person, or if not that one, virtual again. Thanks a lot, and have a good night.
Thank you to everybody. Ciao,
Bye-bye.
Manfredo.
Bye-bye.
Ciao,
Take care.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.